Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jesus Martinez, and welcome all to the beginning of the seventh day of Files and Playing Grand Prix in the race for. Yesterday, our competitors, we can finish the race, and today it's necessary that they finish the race for the valid of the competition. Now, I leave you all with the Grand Prix Chile 2016 relator, Mario Reyes.
Hello, everybody. Here we are in Santiago, in Vitacura. The weather is not very good today. We had a sunshine at the beginning of the day, and later on we had a high clouds that came in. Although the condition changed, we can see that the competitors are at the moment in the area ready to start. We have a 146 kilometers race, mainly a ridge fly. We have very good northwesterly wind, and the start is in the Españoles. You can see that all the competitors are almost ready to be in the go in the next 3 minutes. From here, they will fly to Lagunas for one turn point. There is another turn point inside of Lagunas, close to the valley to Portillo. This is Rio Blanco turn point. From there, they will have to come back to Yerba Loca in the south, then Valle Nevado, and from there, probably will have to go around San Ramon, and from there to Vizcacha. Once they hit Vizcacha turn point, they will fly straight to 3K and then finish in Vitacura. The start will be at 3,400 meters, which will be very good to make the task possible. Mainly, we're going to fly with northwesterly wind. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't been very good to us, especially with the so-called Niño. Now you can see that the gliders are behind the start line, ready to go. We know that we are with a delay, but we might see in the next refreshment what's going to be. I think that mainly they will have to go on this line straight to the Españoles, all the way. From here, they may cross to the area of Lagunas. To get you an idea of the position and also the height, we're going to see what's going on with Wenzel. Wenzel is flying at almost 3,500. I just told you that the start line and the start altitude is 3,400. So they're almost ready to go. We have now 8 competitors flying: Becerra, Chanes, Arturo Diaz, Thomas Costner, Carlos Roca, René Vidal, Jürgen Wenzel, and Günther Sube. Hans Weiner, he's not flying today. You can see that they're already on the go. For all you dear friends that have been flying in this area, this is going to be uh, a very unusual high start. Mainly we'll have to go into the Españoles to continue north. This is going to be a mixture of ridge flying and speed. The idea probably is not to fly thermals. It's going to be a compromise between speed and height. If anybody use the ridges, keeping up a very good speed and without losing time, with, with no possibilities to fly any thermals, they might go very fast and make up the whole track. We have 146 kilometers, and if we think that this could be done in around an hour, 15 minutes or less, we might have a very high speed in all this uh, way of using the ridges as much as you can. Now we have a second refreshing, and you can see that everybody is getting into the ridge. It should follow all these Españoles all the way in, and then we have to cross over this area. Let's see what are the heights that they're flying. Vidal is flying at almost 3,200, and 148 kilometers an hour. So as I told you, should be a compromise between speed and height. With that altitude, 3,200, you should be able to go all the way to Lagunas and even to gain some height. This race is going to be very crowded, one just behind the other. The ones who are behind, they might have a look and a peek what is the guy who is in the front doing and what is the idea. To go fast or to gain some height, which might be transfer and speed by the last leg of the race. Very nice, refreshing. We can see that Roca, Vidal, and almost everybody is all together. Roca is almost with the same height. He's flying at 187 kilometers an hour, almost 3,500. So that means that in that area, there is a very good north wind, with a very good lift. And if you get a good lift, you just change that for speed. We even can see here, according to the lines on the hills, that we just wait for the refreshing. I was saying that you can see from the hills that Vidal, Wenzel, and Roca are flying high on the hills instead of Sube, Gosner, and Chanis, which are more or less in the middle. Now we have a new refreshing. We can see that Chanis got high there, and we're going to see that Roca already is crossing this valley to go north. Roca is now behind. Vidal is in front. Wenzel and Ginter Sube that we mentioned that was point. Diaz, Becerra, Chávez, and Thomas Gostner were just coming into the area of going into the Lagunas Ridge. The other group is Vidal, Wenzel, Sube, and Roca, who is behind, trying to reach the first turn point. Apparently, they found some thermals. They stay together, probably to turning around, which is a very good idea. If you go from this point to the second point, you have to go around this area, but also you have to hit the second point and come back. And probably to come back around this area to cross just where they are now and to continue south. Let's see what Wenzel is doing. He has 3,200. I think it's not high enough to go to the second point and back. Although the speed which is flying is rather fast. I mentioned Wenzel. He's also flying fast, not as high. This is interesting. Probably we missed when they reached the first point, and now to go to this area, to the second point, if you don't have enough height, you have to go around this ridge, what you're trying to do, hit the point and back on the same way. Probably Carlos Roca is flying higher and We're just going to wait for the refreshing. Now we're back. But if the idea we were talking that Roca had more height, he might go to the second point straight instead of going around the ridge. Let's see what's going on. We can see here that Vidal, Sube, and Wenzel didn't have enough height to go over this ridge, get the second point and back. And probably Roca, he might go straight and go around. Apparently, all the pilots hit the second point, and then now they're coming back to Lagunas. We can see that Wenzel is rather low, and Vidal is coming into the area of Laguna to get some height. We can see that Roca went to the point and back. He flew this ridge and probably is already flying south, straight to the third point. As I mentioned to you that probably Roca was going to go straight to the point, that's what he did. And now from the Lagunas, he's flying south with a very good height and a very good speed. I would say too fast. We're going to wait for the next refreshing to see what Roca is doing and how he's going to continue. Once he hits the area of this area of the Españoles, there he is. From here down, he will be ready, almost ready to finish. Let's see and to compare. Roca, he's flying almost 3,400 at 200 kilometers an hour. In the meantime, Wenzel, who was crossing through the valley, is flying at 2,200, so almost 1,000 meters different, 183. Also, Sube was almost doing the same thing, following Wenzel. Well, we can see that Roca is coming into the Españoles. These are the Españoles. Once they get there, probably he will have to jump and to cross these two valleys to go straight to Yerba Loca, which is the third point. As I mentioned to you, we're going to wait for the refreshing to see, but we can realize now that Roca is right in the front, high and fast. Wenzel and Sube are crossing into the valley, which is not really very good. The same thing for Vidal. Let's compare. Vidal is flying 2,700 and 160 kilometers an hour. And Roca is for sure in the front at the moment. He's flying 3,200, so almost 500 meters above Vidal and flying 196 kilometers an hour. He's always flying the ridge. In that area, he might have a tailwind, a very interesting tailwind, and keeping the altitude and letting the wind to do the work, he will really go fast. Now we can see that Roca is coming into the Españoles. It's almost into the Españoles. Vidal is trying to probably to ridge, flying this ridge, and if he's able, he should jump into the Españoles and get some altitude. Wenzel is flying low and way out in the valley, and Sube is probably doing the same thing. We're just going to wait for the refreshing and to see what's here we are. See, Vidal is flying this ridge and probably to get as much as he can into this area to cross to the Españoles. And Roca is heading to the Españoles, and probably what he will do is to, if he has enough height, to cross this area, get this valley, and go straight to the point. The main idea probably will be just to fly the ridges of the Españoles and to jump towards east to get the area. But probably he will go straight. If he has good height, there is a very good pass in this area where he is now. Let's see about the others. We can see that Gosner is in the Lagunas. Chanis already hit the second point and probably is coming back to Lagunas, and from there to speed up over the upper area of the ridges. Okay. As I told you before, I think that this is going to be a very fast race. I told you it was going to be around an hour and 10 minutes, which will be an average speed of more or less 120. But I think that we might be able to get 140 kilometers an hour, which might be just an hour of task. These are only 146 kilometers. We're just going to wait for the next refreshing. Here we are. As I told you, Roca passed this small gate right here. Very smart guy. Got straight to the point without already crossing this area. He should get here to the area of Españoles, and there is a small gate here, and from here to jump to the east. Thomas Gosner is getting a very good recover. He has the upper part of the ridges. He will be able probably to follow Roca's idea. As you can see, some of these guys follow the valley without losing time of gaining altitude, and some others got in the upper part of the ridges. What's going on with the others? The second group, when Chanes is already back into the area of Lagunas with Diaz, Becerra is out in the valley. I think that Diaz and Chanes they might go into this area where you can have the good lift at the Lagunas, getting up into the ridges, and from there to race all the way south. These guys here are with a different strategy. One of them are going height into the ridges, like Roca and Gosner. The others went a bit out into the valley. You just see what Roca speed is at the moment is 237 kilometers an hour. He might be flying an indicated speed of probably 180 or 100 or 200, and the other part for the speed is made up with the tailwind. It's a very good tailwind there. Might be a bit rough, a rough flight. Now we can see that Vidal is coming into the Españoles, close to the area where the start line was, and he's on this area here where there is a gate to go east following Roca's uh, track. We can see that Gosner is probably either to go into the valleys or probably is going to follow this line of the Españoles, and as soon as he could, probably just to go in this area. Wenzel is coming into the valley. You might have to go to this area where is the laboratorio. At the laboratorio, he might get some lift, although he might continue all the way south because this area is rather low, and from here to cross to the point that we have already on the screen. We're just going to wait for the refreshing. As I told you, Gosner kept some altitude. He gained some altitude here in the ridges of the Españoles, and it looks like as soon as he could, he's going to cross towards east. And Vidal is rather low. We'll have to go around this area, and without getting any lift, Roca is doing. Roca is flying almost 200 kilometers an hour with 2,400 meters, which is just enough to get to the and we have almost 40 minutes of flight. You can see again he's making 140 kilometers an hour.
Voy a seguir yo, explicar un poco por qué el cambio de envío.
Let's see what Vidal is doing. Vidal is 2100. He will have to do something to be able to go into the valley, to hit Yerbaloca, and to come out with Valle-Neval. If he's careful and with that altitude, probably he will do it. And in the meantime, Thomas Gosner is done just following the ridges, and he's going to be probably on the second place. Wenzel is apparently coming to Vitacura. I will let you with Alfonso for a minute before we get back to the finish line. Alfonso?
Yes. Good afternoon to the international community that is following the Sailplane Grand Prix in Chile. Today, as it was yesterday too, we had a very cloudy day, and the temperature was lower than yesterday, even lower. So we didn't have any possibility of doing a task through the valleys and through the mountains because we had no convection energy today. So for that reason, I set up a task with a very high tau at 3,200 meters above sea level, and starting from there, just using the dynamic lift because no thermals today at that altitude too. So that's the reason because we have a very short task, only 160 kilometers, and with a very high speed, if you were able to maintain the altitude like it's doing Roca and Gosner. The other ones that didn't get enough altitude on the ridges going north to the first 2 points in the north side of the task, they were not able to came back with the right altitude to pick up the 2 points inside of the mountains. So, well, as Mario was explaining, this is a very fast race and a very short race too for the ones that are able to complete the task. For the other ones that didn't get enough altitude, they are not going to be able to complete the task, and they will have to be back in Vitacura. Okay, so I will leave you for the end of the race again to Mario, which is going to follow what's going on with the rest of the competitors. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Alfonso. You can see on this screen that Gosner is getting to the fourth point. Roca is almost coming into the last point before 3K. Chanes and Diaz are coming into the Españoles, probably keeping the altitude to jump into the valley. We can see that Vidal is going into the area of Arrayan, going straight from here. Probably who will have to go into this area and here to get this other point and come out. We have already on the circuit Jürgen Wenzel, who just coming into Vitacura. Let's see what is the speed that Roca is doing. He's flying 170 kilometers an hour. He just flying the ridge of San Ramon. keeping a very good altitude. Once you turn around, he will get a bit of south wind to come back to 3K. But we still don't have 45 minutes of race for 146 kilometers an hour. 146 kilometers task. Yeah, this is going to be a very good race. As Alfonso said, whoever kept some altitude in the area, especially going to the first and second point, was going. That was the smart guy. We can see that Chanes and Diaz are probably flying the ridge in San Ramon to get some altitude, and Vidal is coming out probably to go into the valley, to go into Yerba Loca. I don't think that. Let me see what Vidal height is. I think that Vidal is coming out. He's very low. I don't think that he's going to be able to get to the third point and to the fourth point. As you can see, looks like Vidal turned to Vitacura. In the meantime, as I told you, Roca is coming into the last turn point, and Chanes and Diaz, it looks like they are flying the ridge at Los Españoles. At this moment, Chanes has 3,100. It looks like he was going back and forth, and for that altitude, now Diaz and Chanes are flying together, and he has only 3,100. And looks like after that, they will cross the valleys and go straight to the third point in Yerba Loca and get to the Valle Nevado. In the meantime, we have Becerra, who's coming around La Dehesa, which already means that he's coming low. The same thing about Sube, so he's coming back hometown too. We're just going to wait for the refreshing to see what's going on here. Vidal is coming into Vitacura without completing the task. In the meantime, Roca just coming into the last turn point, and Gosner is just following him. Gosner was way behind in the area of Lagunas, but he kept some time, got some altitude, and back on the top of the ridges. And that is paying him to be able to be at the area of San Ramon, going around, following the city of Santiago, and back to Vitacura. Becerra is in the area of La Dehesa, and probably he's also coming into Vitacura. Sube is in the area of Chicureo. He might come into Vitacura too. And Diaz and Chanes are flying into the Españoles. They already had enough altitude. Probably they're just going to continue, and from here to jump around this gate in this area and to continue flying to hit the third and the fourth and the fifth point. Now we have a refreshing. Interesting thing is that let's see what Chan is doing. Chan has 3,500, which is very high. As you can see, he went back and forth until he got to the top of the Españoles, and for sure from here he's going to continue south to be able to, and from here is a very fast track for him, just gliding down. Let's see what Diaz is doing. He's only 3,000 meters in the same area where Chanes is flying, but also he's trying to get some altitude to continue. Although he might continue with Españoles south, and from somewhere in here where the start line is, then to cross to the valley with that altitude. I think that it won't be a bad idea that he will be able to do that. We can see the Sube is coming into La Dehesa. And Costner is going to the last point, and Roca is already coming back. We can see the Sube is having just enough altitude to come from the valley of Chicureo into the valley of Dehesa, and from there back to Vitacura. I don't think that he's going to be able to continue. As I mentioned to you, Roca is already in the final glide to Vitacura, followed by Costner. The next two guys will be probably Chanes, if he's able to cross from there to this point, and Diaz. So we have around, from 8 competitors, 4 of them will finish to cross the final line. Let's see what the speed is Roca is doing. He's flying 180 kilometers an hour with very good height. And I'm sorry, that's Costner. Costner is going to the point. And Roca is flying 1,500 meters. Of course, enough altitude, flying that ridge. And from there, at the speed of 180 kilometers, he will come into 3K, and from there to the finish line. Than 1 hour, which means that for a race of 146 kilometers and a speed for close to 150 kilometers an hour. We can see that Chanes and Diaz are gaining some altitude to go into the second, and already Roca is heading to the 3K. I think in a few minutes we're going to wait for the refreshing, and we might see Roca from our point through the window. Be able, it's a very foggy, not foggy, but it's smog. Yeah, to reach the altitude necessary there at the Españoles and this, to just go in or to go around to be able to hit the point. As I showed you at the beginning, this was going to be a typical ridge flying northwesterly wind, which is very good at Españoles and Lagunas. If you As you know, we have a delay, but I can tell you that we already have Roca announced his arrival to 3K, and we might be able to coming into there we have we can see the Roca is heading in this screen to the 3K line. Cut the last point and back into the ridges of San Ramon. Strange, but we still have in that area with the DS doing the same. We're going to see Chanes. What is he doing? He has already 3,500, and the speed is 100. Be able to go up high. Yes. We're going to see what DS is doing. It's 31. We're going to zoom. With that through the Españoles south and then going to Yerba Loca. It's not necessary to get some altitude there or that much altitude there and then to continue through this line where what Roca did. Well, this is having a hard time going back and forth to get up, all the way up to this area. We can see by the window landing. Well, this we have to get a decision. Either to get some height, to go into the mountain, through the ridges of the Españoles, and from there go into the other third, fourth, and fifth point. Costner is already into the San Ramon, flying this area, and to get 3K, and from there to land. I think that we're going to have a average speed of Carlos Roca close to 160 kilometers an hour. As I mentioned before, this is a compromise of it was going to be a compromise between ridge flying and speed. How high you kept and how high you will fly. I think that Roca has done a very good job going with good speed without losing altitude, keeping high, and that paid him later on when he was heading south. He was able to go very fast and to hit the other areas. We can see now that this is moving south. Costner is almost here in 3K, and Chanes we might have a problem with the spider track of Chanes because it looks like he will lose the track. In the meantime, Diaz, he's already with good height, flying fast, and following the ridges of the Españoles. In this area where he is, he should go probably into the mountains. Should go from here into the mountains to hit the third point, then the fourth. He has very good speed and very good height. This is keeping his height 3,500, 118 kilometers an hour to be able to jump from this area towards the third and the fourth point. Costner is already coming in and it will be landing in a few minutes. He already did 3K and crossed the finish line in the second place. Tío, se sigue paseando ahí. Nosotros pensamos que estaba volando 118 kilómetros.
Y a la misma altura que estaba el fuego, 3500.
3500, sí. Venirse para acá.
Sí, fue donde mismo estaba el fuego. Ve los monstruos aquí.
Y está a 3600, ¿no? Vamos arriba.
Aquí,
Está donde vivo. Está 5 kilómetros.
¿Qué velocidad la cámara?
Siempre a la misma velocidad.
¿Está dando ahí?
10 está por ahí. El otro se acabó. El otro se acabó.
Qué locos.
The only competitors that we still have flying is this. And he's flying in the Españoles. We saw him before. He has very good height. As we can see, this is not flying south. We're just going to wait for the refreshing to see what are going to be the ideas of these. Well, now we can see in the refreshing, he went into the valleys and continued through all these ridges. He probably is flying very high and very fast. Let's see this. He's going, you know, 3,400 at 224 kilometers an hour. From there, he should continue and go into the area of the third point, fourth point, and from there to the finish line. Well, dear friends, I think that we are done for today. First one to finish is Carlos Roca with the fantastic speed. Second one was Gosner, who also got a very good speed. Third one might be Diaz and Chanes. We're expecting that tomorrow we have a sunny day, warm, high visibility like the days we used to, and we hope to see you tomorrow with a very different and interesting race. Okay, hello to everybody.